But do you like that your players want to be more accountable and speak about accountability, or is that something you wish they kept to themselves?
I'm fine with it. Like, I live in the truth really well. I like, the truthful discussions, and I think that if they feel like they can be more candid with one another, then so be it. By and large, we keep things pretty much in-house, as you know I do. And I think that it was delivered with good intention and a level of accuracy. So it's just part of 82 games. It happens sometimes when you lose. These kind of cracks emerge, and sometimes they're overblown. Sometimes they're accurate, and a little bit of a pre-mortem stuff. And so that's a long-winded answer to say I'm okay with it. We had a great practice. They talked freely, and excited to go play Houston.
Brad, how much of a role do you feel you need to have personally for motivation? Not saying you're going to come in here every day and give a new Rockne speech, but how much is on those guys to show up every day as professionals?
I'm the head coach, and I own it all, and I really mean that. And at times you need some help, but I'm the head coach, and so that's part of the head coach's job. And I think that we've navigated, some interesting times here in Philadelphia. Well, there are things that we all could have done better, but it's important, as I reminded them a week ago, we were pretty good on Christmas, and it's such a snapshot to how this whole thing works. You feel pretty good one day, and then you don't feel so good 6 days later. But it's real, and it's the world that we live in, and so I think this is my job to help these guys be at their best, to tell them when they're not, and that's how I see it.
Does that worry you that this team can experience such high highs and then also lows, like 3 innings and shit like this?
I think that to quickly go to a level of mediocrity is always concerning. In my heart, in my gut, I feel like there is enough character in the room, enough talent in the room, where we will get some wins and move on. I think that historically our program has improved in January, where we've had a chance to coach people and we can, watch a level of improvement. I believe we played more games in the NBA than any NBA team and had very little practices. That's not true for the month of January. We actually have a foundation that I think that we can use to manufacture an environment that will allow us to improve. I think that with improvement comes winning, comes morale, comes spirit, and you get a chance to take off. And that's my 20-year experience in the NBA. It doesn't feel so great now, this is true, but I see genuinely daylight where we can get this thing back on track and start achieving the goals that we all have for one another.
Some people watch this team and they say they're coasting through the regular season. You can't just flip a switch. Do you see that out of them, or is this just getting beat on the court?
No, I definitely see it out of them, and it's not acceptable. I completely sort of coach and live life thinking that good things add up, and you don't just click your heels and April 14th this year. That's not how I see anything, and we shared that notion today, and they're smart enough to agree. And a little bit to Kyle's question earlier, that's stuff where I gotta continually remind them at times, maybe remind them more than I have. There are so many bullets you feel as a head coach in the NBA you got. I fire them responsibly, or feel like I have over the years. And you do need some help. People do have to, own things and be able to accurately answer the question, what do I want out of this? What's my role? What's my responsibility? What's leadership look like in my world? And I do the same. I don't absolve myself from any of those questions. And so the notion of good days adding up, I believe in, and I don't think at all you click your heels and arrive. And I think some of the problem has been derived by that notion in a way that's not smart.
Do you sense any frustration out of your players with each other, their skill sets, how it's all fitting together?
At times, you know, and at times it is clunky. And it's an unusual, you know, set of talent that we have. And so, you know, should it be clunky? I think it should. Should it have been ironed out maybe a little bit sooner than January the 2nd? Possibly. But is it something like I'm really worried about? I'm not. Like I'm far more excited about the possibilities and the potential than I am. This team just doesn't fit. I'm not seeing it like that. I'm not seeing it like that.
Are you worried
Two
about
more guys.
Horford because he shot 50% from the floor in November, same number of games, 40% in December?
Yeah. No, I'm not. I understand the math. I know those stats. I feel that I have to help put him in a better position where, you know, he can do some things that we've all felt the pain of during his Boston days. And that's where my head is at. How do I help him? And I think that if I can help put him in an environment that he's more comfortable in more frequently, then I think this conversation wouldn't be had. I get statistically where it's arrived. He's part of a equation that none of us would sort of dismiss, that he's amongst like also a unique team, you know, with a lot of different skill sets. And where does he fit in? And he's so like classy and at times just wanting to be a good teammate, that he doesn't sort of impose himself, you know, all the time on the game. And at times I don't like call his number a lot either. You know, we've been going a lot at Tobias and Joel as an example. And so I do not worry about it. And I, most importantly, you know, look back and ask, you know, how do I help him?
Does it concern you to hear Josh talk about a lack of accountability and that, you know, some of the newcomers are afraid of stepping on the veterans' toes? As a coach, does that concern you?
It doesn't. I think it's just honesty. Like, you know, he's said what he said, and, you know, he's trying to figure out his place in a program. I think that it's, I respect it, and I don't beat up on it too much. I feel like, you know, I understand what was said, but I don't try to dissect that and look deeper. I think it's quite honest and simple, and I understand it. I think that we will be better off for this situation. I truly do. And I think today's practice was awesome. It's like one of the first days that you really had a chance to sweat and have a legitimate practice in a very, very long time.
Last one, guys.
Tuesday's game more or less them playing well, or did you see a lack of effort on your team in that game?
I thought the whole game stunk. You know, it's the last game of the year. It's an afternoon game. You're ending a road trip. You know, I learned on the bus ride over, Joe's not going to play. And just the environment ended up stinking. And, you know, it just, you move on. There are so many hall passes you get where, for me, like I can look at you or the team and say, you know what, it's the NBA, it's 82 games, you lay an egg every so often. That wasn't one of those games for me. Like I don't justify it at all. And although some of the things that I just said might lean you toward I'm thinking that, I ain't thinking that. I'm not thinking that at all. It's just, we certainly didn't play with the energy that I expect and they expect, especially after dropping 2 games prior.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you
Brett.
all.